All right, in this video, I want to talk really briefly about some tips, general tips for doing the hip thruster exercise, which is a great exercise for the glutes, working on power from the hips, and a great exercise you can do when you're injured and you're unable to squat or unable to deadlift, but still need to do some kind of leg or glute exercise. So this can be a great one, but the setup can be kind of awkward, especially if you have a bench that's not super comfortable, a bench that sits a little bit high. The setup can be take a little bit of getting used to. After a couple weeks, you'll figure it out and you'll start to get used to it. One key thing that I would do right away is if you're going to be doing hip thrusters, buy one of these pads. They're fairly cheap. It's going to be a game changer. It's going to save your hip bones from the pain as the weight begins to get heavier. If you don't have one of these pads, get some towels, wrap some towels around the bar, or use whatever you have to try to soften the bar up a little bit when it's on your hips. So set up on the bench. Your bench, you can find it can be a little bit unstable when you're putting your shoulders up on the bench to do the hip thruster. So yeah, I've got some sandbags underneath the bench on both legs behind it to keep it from sliding backwards at all. You have to be careful to still not rock the bench backwards and tip it over, but that's going to keep it from sliding. When I go to get set up for the hip thruster, I'm going to want to make sure that my shoulder blades and the bottom of my shoulder blades are well up on the bench. Now, depending on how tall you are, you may not be able to do that from the initial setup from the ground. So you're going to have to readjust as soon as you get to the top of your first rep, scoot yourself back and slide those shoulder blades up onto the bench to get ready to do the hip thruster. So I'll walk you through my setup a little bit. I make sure that I get set up nice and centered underneath the bar. Once I get the pad set, I reach back, I feel my shoulder blades touch the bench and go ahead and get into place. Once my shoulder blades are as high as they can get from here, I'm going to go ahead and scoot my feet up under me. That for me is lifting the bar just a little bit. It's putting a little bit of pressure down on my hips, a little pressure into my gut. And then I'm going to go ahead, get my arms out, and I'm going to use my arms to like press down to get my first rep going. Once I get my first rep going, I'm going to grab the bar. I'm going to scoot my shoulders back, get my shoulder blades on the bar or back on the bench really well. Now, when I go down, my butt's not going to be able to touch the ground. My femurs are not long enough. My bench is too high. That's okay. Your butt doesn't have to touch the ground. The main thing is going to be for muscle building that I'm squeezing at the top. So you can squeeze, give a little pause at the top, hold, go back down, come back up, just like so. If you feel like you're coming off the bench, you can go ahead and scoot yourself back a little more. Get yourself in a nice, comfortable position. Now, you may find that your bench irritates your upper back a little bit. It's mostly just going to irritate the skin. It's going to pinch your skin a little bit. If you don't like the pinching of your skin, you can use different platforms other than a bench. If you get a nice, thick, padded bench, that's where having a nice, high-quality bench can come in handy, especially if you get like a padded bench that they use for bench pressing. Nice thick padded bench is great. If it's pinching your upper back a little bit, you can also wrap some towels, put some towels, some extra padding on the bench and use that. You could try to use something like a ab mat like I have. I've never used this, but I could potentially just put that there, put that down like so, just to give it a little bit of extra padding. But that's it. Just a few quick setup tips. I think I've covered everything. If you have any questions or at all, please comment below. And thank you for watching.